now in the.
Okay.
Okay, guys, in 5 years, I'm going to be much, much better, I promise. Okay, I have 3 monitors. So can you guys see my screen again?
Yes.
Yes, we're seeing the right one, number 717. I've got on my 3 screens, I've only got it on my main screen.
That's what happens when you work with IT. You need to have 3 or 4 sometimes. Everything work at the same time. So
Well, yes, sure. Why not?
IT,
Especially if you want to
it.
watch a movie at the same time.
you can, but you need to focus a lot in your code. So I cannot do.
Yes.
Some people can do both together. I usually.
Yeah.
I have a comment on this this book that we're working through with 717 and so on. This was written in 1880 or thereabouts, maybe a little earlier. And
Earlier.
we are 140 years later. Now, in that time, morals have changed. They've probably improved. I would not like to bet on it, but I'm pretty sure they've changed, and they've changed for the better. Because what's changed for the better? Well, they use the word savages when we know they're primitive people, and they can be just as advanced as we are, using different methods. That was not known at the time, or it was not generally accepted. That is now generally accepted by people who can read and do read. That's, of course, another distinction. And so I'm a little leery, that means doubtful sometimes, of the statements of what constitutes moral behavior, because things have changed and things are getting better. That's my opinion, and I'll shut up now.
What I think when I see this word, I mean, it's more like maybe like Indians or some people who live in villages, more simple. What do you think, Luis? I just don't feel people like in our society nowadays, or even in the time in France, not that a little more village, more when you were more simple. What do you think, Luis? That's what came to my mind.
No, what I think about the Kardec's work is that nobody has done what he did. And that's the point, right? Nobody has persistently and automatically researched in hundreds of groups and tried to comb through all the information. Of course, he used information, and he says that because we are reading here the basic works, but we have 11 years of Spiritist magazine where he discusses everything, his doubts, why he chose this or this theory, for example. And Giles is completely right when he says that. For example, once I read he saying that, look, some high spirits, and in my opinion, they are high, they say that there's one unique or spirit realm around the earth. According to our science today, this is the best idea, but there are some spirits that they say there are multiple higher spheres, one over the other, overlapping the other, right? And I think this idea can be used too, but not now, not with the scientific knowledge we have nowadays. So I choose our scientific reading to get this and write this in the book. But this is evolutional. The Spiritist doctrine or then the spiritual knowledge must be evolutional. What I'm bringing to you is the criterion. And that's what we have to get, understand? This is what we have to learn. Otherwise, we can be really lost in terms of spiritual knowledge. But I think it's right. Yes, for some terminologies nowadays, he wouldn't use. In my opinion, Allan Kardec today, if he got into some Spiritist centers, he would be very surprised and he wouldn't participate in, right? Yes, this is not my phrase. This is a phrase of the president of the Spiritist Federation in a book. He said, Allan Kardec, maybe he wouldn't get into some Spiritist centers. He wouldn't go well with those kind of people and the way they think there. Right? So I think that's okay. We need to understand that this some writings and some conceptions are from the 19th century. But what it's really important for us to get the criterion. right? The lens through which he sees things is very interesting. Okay, Giles, go on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hyacinth first, I think.
Ah, I see there. Okay, yeah, sorry.
Yes, I don't know about spiritist centers because I haven't been into any, so I cannot comment. Certainly there have been changes in thought in the last 100 years, no doubt about it. Science has come a long way, but I maintain that there is no way science is going to be able to control spirit. You cannot replicate spirit in a lab. It just won't work. Anyway, that's my humble opinion. And I have talked about this with a lot of scientists and paranormal people, and you know, they've tried to replicate what they know to be true in a lab, because they say we cannot go out with this theory unless we can replicate it and prove it. And I don't see that happening because you cannot control spirit. Okay. The other thing is, for me, I have been in despair, absolutely despair, because the morals today is nothing like the morals I grew up with.
Yeah.
Look at what is going on today. The 2% billionaires are making more billions, while a lot of people are suffering and starving. So
Hyacinth, it's
I guess-
always been that way. It's
I guess, wait a
always
minute,
been that way.
it's much, much worse. It was certainly not like this when I was growing up. It's
But
much
Hyacinth,
worse.
when you were growing up, racism was all over the world, outspoken, carelessly, and now it's not.
Sorry,
That's an
racism
improvement.
exists but everywhere.
Of course
I'm
it
sorry.
exists.
I'm
Of
sorry.
course
and,
it exists.
And they're talking about it again. There was a time when it had calmed down. And since Barack Obama became president, it's full blown. And I'm talking as a Black person, as I see it, and I'm sensitive to it. And I cannot be gainsaid about this, because white people cannot feel what it is as Black people feel it. It's much, much more sensitive.
Okay, well then I'm an optimist and you're not optimistic, and that's all there is to it. I
I
think
can-
things are
I
getting
can-
better.
I can only pray.
Can I give my humble opinion about both, guys? I think both of you guys are right. And Hyacinth's right when a lot of things could be much better and get worse, like the difference of rich and poor and a lot of things, polarization. We didn't have so much polarization, but Jairo is correct. A lot of things got better. And I think that's probably the natural evolution or progression of a planet and humanity. And that's why we are fighting this transition time to get the regeneration time, where we hope, you know, everything's happening, as Chick Chavez said, and all the medias are saying, everything's going to be much more equal. People are going to have more good than bad. People are going to be more compassionate than selfish. But I think, in my opinion, both of you guys has your point of view, and you guys are right.
Yes, may I give my opinion too, my humble opinion too?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, yes, it's about people, what they're saying. I do agree with you too, Josie. They are both correct. The point is, there are some ups and downs, that apparent ups and downs in the evolution. For example, reincarnation, it's one of the causes of this ups and downs. For example, Chico Xavier, he prophetized in one of his books in 1947 that a whole bunch of millions of lower zone spirits would reincarnate into Earth. And when people got that information, I was young, I said, oh my God, so society will change completely. The institutions will fall down, will go down the pipes. So this is the sensation that Hyacinth, for example, may have felt that, oh, come on, things were kind of golden years suddenly, criminality and all kinds of problems. But this is an evolutional movement to give opportunity to the spirits of the lower zones to get educated and to be, and of course, when they come and they reincarnate, they cause a social turmoil, you know, a social storm as we are living now. But it's just an apparent sensation, because we are talking about educating a whole planet, including those billions of people who from the spirit realms. So that's why we have this kind of sensation of ups and downs. So come on, the old days were so good, people were more civilized, and suddenly a very strange sensation of very strange generations come through, reincarnate, but they were, according to some works and some spiritist views from the past. I remember when I was 17 or 18, the spirits coming, look, they are cleaning the lower zones. So please, right, be prepared. You are in for great surprises in terms of new generations there, because very troublesome guys are being born, because they need to, it's evolution. And now we have the millennials, right? Have you heard about the millennials and the way they are, the way they behave, very self-centered? That's it. So I think that's why I think sure Josie is right. Yeah,
very well
Aishin and Jazz are correct. Yeah.
And Chico Xavier told us so many times when he was alive that this transition time is the last chance for everybody. So everybody's incarnate because it's the last chance. You need to do it now, or
Yeah.
We are going to have
It's now or never.
planets, but yeah, cannot be in Earth anymore. Who doesn't?
That's it. Many of us will say goodbye to the planet, because the planet is moving on to another cycle. And that's what Jesus Christ would say, the end, not the end of times, the end of eon. Eon in Greek is cycle, right?
The end of the age.
The end of the age, yes.
Age is a young, absolutely.
And this end of the age began with the coming, for example, of Jesus Christ. And even the apostle John the Baptist said, look, the axe is at the root of the trees, right? Repent or you will be thrown away. So bye-bye, Earth. That's it. That's what's happening today.
Oh, sometimes I think when a science fiction movie starts where all of humanity is killed except for 3 or 5 or something, I heave a great sigh of relief in along with the planet, because peace at last. Now the trees can grow again and the animals can run about and not be tortured by these dreadful humans. But then we remember Jürgen Zhu, and he has seen all the happiness and love that there is on the planet. And then again, some weeks later, he's seen all the unhappiness and sadness and pain that's on the planet. And he's seen that one outweighs the other. And I know that anyway. I'm an optimist, that's all. And love and laughter outweigh. Sorry, I'm interrupting again.
Sure. Claudia?
Yeah, I would like to address the question. What should we think of those who, in order to secure excess, hoard the goods of the earth to the detriment of others who lack what's necessary to survive? And from a slightly different perspective, I'll start with the example of a Bill Gates, and they talk about, oh, well, the Gates give so many billions of dollars to charity, but they are deciding what gets funded, not us as a people on the earth getting to vote on what the needs are. That's too much power in the hands of too few people, and it's not democratic. And for my lifetime and many lifetimes before me, the same thing has happened with engineering and with medicine and religion. What gets studied, what gets talked about, what gets preference is what it has been determined by primarily old white men. And it has impeded our progress as a people, because if the natives of the land, if women, if others had been included in the decision-making progress, I think humanity would have progressed much farther, much faster. But just letting all the big decisions as to where the resources go, where the focus goes, that's been old white men. And it's really been to our detriment, I think, as a species.
Yes, One more time. Okay, Haisine wants to speak.
No, thank you, Ressa. But that's what I'm not talking about all white men. I'm just talking about the few who are making all the decisions for the world. They decide what is, and watch it. Bill Gates is going to be telling you what may be grown and what you may eat. Watch it. Watch that space.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'd like to.
so that's it. And just one more thing. My experience of color is nothing like it has been in the US. Absolutely not. Never. Thank you.
Okay. I'd like just to add before Art speaks too, just a minute, because I liked what Gloria said. Once they asked Emmanuel, the spiritual guide, and I asked some spirits about that too, say, what's more important, the material charity or the moral spiritual charity? And he says, well, for those who understand about spirit, education is everything first, because we can give lots of material things, we can do lots of charitable things in terms of beneficent associations, but if we don't change our hearts into unconditional love, you will be in the hands of those people you're talking about forever. You understand? Because if not forever, for a long time. Because he says, we need to modify every citizen in the world, modify them into spirituality, because if you are spiritualized, every home will be a nursing home, will be a hospital, will be a church, and we won't need any institutions to do all that. And the institutions are usually in the hands of those who want power many times. So that's what we're doing here, right? We're trying to change ourselves, because when the people change, they will deserve other kinds of leaders, right?
And can I just add one thing, art for art? Everybody talks before about what Haisine was saying. It's totally different. I'm not even comparing, but I'm a immigrant from South America in the United States. So I see exactly what you say, Haisine, and I've had felt a few times the discrimination as well. But do you know, I decide to not see anymore. And I decide to take a different approach. And if I feel somebody's kind of being mean with me or something, I just say, whatever. And I'm going to, I don't let that affect me anymore at all. And less I pay attention, less happen. It's unbelievable. Look like I change a little bit my vibration, and then I don't see anymore. And I'm just saying, because I kind of have a little bit this experience as well. Art.
Yeah, rather than individuals, I tend to blame government for poverty and hunger. You look at North Korea, you look at Russia now with their war and their blocking of the wheat and all that sort of thing that they're trying to get out. That's just my idea.
Yeah, absolutely, Tom. You are mute. You need to unmute. You are still mute.
I've just posted a recording there that I asked Spirit about when humans first came to the earth. And I've just laid it there for everybody to listen to, or if you want to play it and listen to it. And in the recording, it'll tell you how the first humans came to this earth and who brought them and who we are. And the reason we have the good and the bad is because of what happened in 1947 in Roswell. There's different Roswell. And the Roswell, there was a nurse, and her name was Matilda O'Donnell McElroy. And she was the nurse that looked after one of the beings that was in the spacecraft. And she would the being would only communicate with her, and they called her AIRL. And she, in that recording of what she posted, because she's dead now and she's back in the spirit world and she moved to Ireland, and she tells in the recording, there's a video that I can pass on to you now. The video is 4 hours long, but it's all to do with this communication with Elle and she tells the story. Now, the two warring beings from the other worlds that are in that 4-hour video are the beings that we are today. They use the DNA from each of them beings, and they were brought to Earth millions of years ago. And the two warring people that you will hear about in the video is the ones who are in charge today. And they were that warring people that got beat years ago. But that, when we used to sit in the home circle and I asked the spirit who we are, what is Earth like, you know, what's it all about? These are some of the recordings that I got. This one here, the spirit explains about we were cloned from two spirit beings from other worlds. And the ones today that are in the video about the 1947 Roswell one are the beings that were that were causing all the war. And all the people today in charge are them. There's more of us than them, but while the people sit and do nothing, the evil one will just succeed because the good do nothing. So if you've never heard it or you don't know, because I mean, I've only been doing this 12 years. I mean, I'm not long into it like a lot of yous are. So I've only been, but I started off and got into, all I got into was physical mediumship. I was into that very, very early. You know, I've sat in that many seances and witnessed so much stuff and had so much information, it's unbelievable. So when I listen to yous each week and other things, I am amazed by what you've come out with, because I have never, ever heard any of that in 12 years with all the spirit communicators that I've dealt with. All the 700 recordings I have Leslie Flint with all their recordings. I never hear, you know, I listen to them every day. I never hear some of the stuff you go on with. When I look at Chico's, you know, it's very religious, very Catholic. There is no religions at all in the spirit world. There's no God, there's no Jesus, there's no angels, there's no devil, there's no demons, there's no heaven, there's no earth, hell. Everything is automatic. Everything is automatic of who we are, and we're creation of light. Everything is automatic. Everything in the spirit world is automatic. I've never heard anybody in the spirit world the last 12 years that I've been dealing with all the different spirits or whatever. I have never heard anything from them, what I hear. And then what Giles was saying earlier on, that this stuff that's been read out here now is hundreds of years old, yet nobody knows or talks about what is the latest thing that's going on? What is the latest thing that spirit teams are working with today in seance rooms? The seance that we were working on before the medium died, we were working that a beam of light will come into the room and a spirit will walk into that beam. You will hear them, you will see them, you will touch them, and they will touch you. And that is how the spirit world is working today. All the spirit teams are asking everybody to go back to working in the home circles like they did years ago. In the spirit world now, all the spirit teams are working together. which they never used to do, but now they're working together. So because of this little group here now, where the people in, you've got America, you've got Brazil, you've got wherever we are in the country. So if Louis and your wife was sitting in your seance room, the home circle, the energy that you're working with, that you'll build up over the years. Now, when you're finished sitting in, Giles is sitting with his little group, they draw the energy from you, Louis. And it's the same Maria, they'll draw the energy from her. Now, when she sits, they'll draw all the energy from everywhere else in the world. So the whole spirit team in the spirit world today are working all together so that when you sit now in a home circle, you don't even need a medium. All you need is a room, one room set aside purely for working with spirit. And then you have a team of dedicated sitters who want to sit for purely spirit communication. And they'll all work together. And the medium is the room and the sitters and all the other home circles around the world. Now, we were doing this in 2017, 19, when he died. So I've been asking other people who sit, is there anybody now in the world coming through that's working in doing this? And I can't get an answer of anybody of any home circle working. And they're developing.
Can I answer your question?
I don't sit now.
Luis, before you, 1 second. Don, very interesting what you're saying. And I download already your folder, I want to see the video. But I would invite you to read the books from Allan Kardec, because he explained very, very well all this transaction, how everything starts. If you get the genesis from Allan Kardec, it's a good understand how it's happened. To be honest, if I understood everything you said, it is what I think, it's very similar. And it's very, Luis, correct me if I'm wrong, it's very, very similar and make a lot of connections.
You see, because I know all religions are man-made, I brought up Roman Catholic. I'm 70 now.
Mm-hmm.
I knew at the age of 14 that it was the biggest load of rubbish out. And I was brought up in a house, and all my relations, I got hundreds of relations, all Roman Catholic. But I knew at 14 it was the biggest load of rubbish out. And I've never had it, and all the spirit world will tell you, there is no, in the spirit world, everything what Allan Kardec and whatever, you'll not find that in the spirit world because it doesn't exist. So what's happening today with a lot of people, when they get to the spirit world, they're in for a hell of a shock because they will not find what they believe and think today. It doesn't exist.
Don, I don't think we can even start an argument here, but for example, mediums as Chico Xavier more than prove the spiritual world exists, the astral city exists. Maybe it's our mind, maybe it's created from the mind of the spirits, and I totally believe in a situation like that, but that would be a discussion we need to maybe open one day and everybody kind of get more prepared to come to. Luis, what do you think? Just, it's a very deep, very, very deep.
Yes, one more time, very interesting. But one more time, let's talk about evidence all over the world, right? I think information from the spirit world says that, yes, many people, when they discarnate, when they go to the other side, they face and they see their realities, the realities they believe in. So there are Protestant colonies, there are Catholic cities, there are places. Well, those who are shocked are those who are somehow prepared for a higher reality. Yeah, so in this sense, I agree with them. Another point is the word religion. Allan Kardec said once there was the people from the Catholic Church, they insisted in the situation that the Spiritism was a new religion. And Kardec said, Spiritism is not religion. It's just the search for the truth with one very strong and exact criterion. So religion, Spiritism can be in the sense of, in the philosophical sense. So for example, once I was watching Wendy in a group there was a medium from, I think was from the Netherlands. And she's saying, no, in my group, there's no religion. We sit, we pray, wait. Pray. This is religion, right? You concentrate in the spiritual values. This is religion, right? It's not in the philosophical sense of the word, not, of course, in the organizational sense of the word. So religion, of course, in the spirit, when there is religion in the spirit realms, it's because these places are gathering people who are not prepared for the higher realms where there is no religion, right? So that's what they call the lower zones, where people speak English, speak Portuguese. According to the evidence, some people, if they are not prepared, when they die, they won't be able to talk to an American mentally because they won't know the language, right? And don't know the mental language. So that's what I've seen in terms of evidence in this 40 years of mediumship and the books I've been searching for, right? And reading. And the point is religion, I see this because the Saxon world and the European world and the American world, they have a great trauma because of Christianity and all the problems. But the problem is not Christianity. The problem is the institution, the human institution. Rome is the problem, right? Vatican is the problem. And the spiritualism, and even the spiritism, will face the same problem when they are spread all over the world, because the institutions will come with their human way of being, right? With authority, with money. Once I was about 20 years ago, I accessed a site in the United States about spiritism, and a woman from a spiritist organization, American spiritist organization, was outraged, saying, why do these people from South America, why do they come and they think they can say something about spiritism here in our country? Because our country is a hegemonic country. We need to grab this knowledge and we need to be superior about spiritism, and we cannot allow these people from third world countries or places like that to say something about this or that to us, right? So this is what happens. So this is the way the Roman Empire did to Christianity. A guide like Jesus Christ, that all the spirit, all unconditional love, then became what he became because of the power of the empire, because the conciliums and things like that. So that's what the power in the world does to this kind of knowledge. But so remember, spiritism is not religion, it's just a search for the truth. And it's only religion in the spiritualist sense of praying, getting in touch with higher consciences, getting in touch with higher realms and higher power, an evolutional thing. So this is the point. So in this sense, of course, religion in themselves, they don't exist, right? Philosophically speaking, right? There's no organization. You can be a pope here on this planet, and suddenly you pass away and you are in a very dark situation in the other realm. There's a book by Chico Xavier, which is a story of a pope from the medieval ages. That's exactly this. He's a pope there. He's a pope here on earth, but when he discarnates, he becomes a chief of the dark powers on the other side. So this is it. It's a lot of things. We could talk and all over this stuff for hours, but I think it's very interesting, these opinions, because we have to understand that sometimes, or most of the times, terminology is the great problem, right? For us to get in touch with the higher notions of reality. Thank you.
And can I add only one thing, Luis? I think Tom is right about that. Everything is energy. Material doesn't exist. Everything is energy, and we are going to get there.
That's what all the different levels are in the spirit world. When you go back to the spirit world, you will automatically live on the level that you've earned to live. My wife and me, we're on level 4. And
Yep.
she's built her house and her home, and I've been told where we go and where it is and what it's like.
Yep.
I only know levels. I don't know anything else of what I've earned. But what I listen to a lot of others, I think, where does that all come from? Because I've never heard that, and I've never heard the spirit world. But I mean, in your, Louis, in your 40 years, have you been told that you come from beings from other world, that you are part of their DNA? Have you ever heard that in all your years, or you've
Not about DNA. What I've heard is that it's possible that I've come a deported spirit because I've made strong mistakes on a planet
From another
and they came down here. But spiritually speaking, not speaking about the DNA or physical thing.
see, like the different levels now? I mean, what do you call it?
Okay.
March of Britain. She said there was 7 levels, but in the spirituals world, they work about 7 levels. There's
7,
millions,
yeah.
millions of different levels, and the
Mhm.
beings from other worlds, they're way, way ahead of us. Earth is a lower, it's quite a low.
Yeah, that matches. That information matches.
So when if you've been on another world level, say you've been to another planet, so you've been on level, say 36. We'll just take that for instance, 36. So now you've come back on Earth at this time for a reason to help. A lot of us does. All of us that are here in this sort of group doing it, we're on this Earth just for one thing, to teach people. That's all we're here for. And we can't do any more. We can tell people, explain people, and then just leave it with them. I just share all my information and then I just walk away.
You do
What
good.
you do
Yeah,
with it
do
is
good.
entirely up to you.
And
But
Tom,
that's all we're here for.
and
Every one of us in this room.
we are in the 3 dimension. We are in the 3rd dimension when we have height, width, and deep. And that's the dimension we are now. And more you go up, you go to the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, and that's going to happen. But that's depend of your thoughts and your feelings and the vibration you emanate, the energy you can connect with. So I think in the end,
I've never heard the spirit world talk about that. 3rd dimension, 4th, 5th, 6th. Never heard it in 12 years.
Go ahead. What do you think, Don? Let's go ahead today. We definitely can prepare. We can even talk together with Yana and bring something about, but there is a lot about dimensions. There is a lot about other planets and how the DNA, the 12 lines and becoming two, there is a lot to go deep. A lot.
Come on, it's Hyacinth's turn.
Yeah,
If we go on any
Hyacinth's
longer,
turn.
she will forget what she's got to say.
Yes, thank you, Jazz. No, but really, so many people have reported what their spirit guides have said, and they absolutely believe it and say, this is what it is. And so I listen. I mean, I go by what St. Stephen has said, and he said that there are levels. And so on. And so I think it is perhaps that we each go to different levels and different places, not the same place. I mean, listen to Len, and he will tell you without a shadow of a doubt what is happening. And his is a new thought for me. So I listen to everybody, and but I have to live this life. And then when I move over, I will find myself in a place, and I may be surprised, but I certainly know that there is an afterlife without the shadow of a doubt. And Jesus talked about this. So for me, that there is no contradiction at all. What churches have done with it, it's something else, but you grow and you listen and you understand, and you said, aha, that's what it was. So for me, I have no contradiction within myself. I listen to everybody. And I can't say you are wrong.
Let me add here, Hyacinth, to agree with your point. Those that visit the afterlife in lucid dreams tell us that there are areas, large areas, with millions of humans in them who do not believe they have died, and they are still going to work. And if you try and tell them, look, I can float, therefore you're dead, and they say no, and they get angry and throw things at you. And all I'm trying to say is there's an awful lot of social work for us to do. And the next thing
That's
I
right.
want to say is that we have a really great gift, a real miracle, which is when we return to the earth, we get a memory wipe. Now, it's not always perfect and it doesn't always work, but generally for all humans, it works. We get a memory wipe and we start over. And it doesn't mean we start over in our character, because that's what we bring with us. But we forget who we were and why we came, and then we have to work through it. And this is an absolute gift of wonderful, miraculous origin. Sorry.
If everybody came back and knowing what they had before, it'd be a waste of time. It's like you'd know what the lottery numbers are. So you'll win the lottery every week. There's no point.
You would shoot yourself anyway, because you'd say you're in the wrong place. Let me go home.
Yeah, if you were to come here knowing what the reason why you're here, what you're here for learning for, well, there's no point. You have to come back not knowing it, or else you've got to learn it.
Or let me put this another way, Tom. You have to believe it's true. You have to believe this is your only life, and you have to believe it's important. That's why you get the memory wipe.
Yep. Giles, can I ask you to read the answer then? We only went to one question today, basically. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Hyacinth, Giles, Luis, everybody.
There is no finite boundary between what is necessary and what is superfluous. Civilization has created necessities that do not exist for primitive peoples. The spirits who have dictated the aforementioned principles are not saying that civilized human beings should live as primitives do. Everything is relative, and reason must determine how things should be divided. Yes, indeed. Civilization develops both the moral sense and the sentiment of charity, which leads people to support one another mutually. Yes, they're called families. Those who live at the expense of others, denying them even the barest necessities and hoarding the benefits of civilization for their own profit, only wear the mask of civilization, just as others only wear the mask of religion. And if I can continue one moment, that's what karma is for.
Yep. And everything is balance. Everything is do for the other what we would like somebody would do for you, right?
Yes, yes, in short.
Yes, and I was just recalling here, excuse me, about when Gloria said about the leaders who are responsible for all that. I remember Jesus Christ saying, "Woe to the world because the offenses, for it must needs be that offenses come, but woe to that man who the offense comes through," right? So it's a karmic thing, right? So if you have to be beaten, you will be beaten. Woe to the man who beats you.
You said bitten. What you meant was beaten, B-E-A, beaten, not B-I-T-T.
Yes, beaten, 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 as you say.
Beaten, beaten with a stick.
Beaten, yes.
Yeah.
If you should be beaten, you'll be beaten, but too bad for the one who beat you.
I have
Well, there's something worth pointing out here. Plants don't have karma, but animals in the course of development of the animal kingdom, animals develop karma, because you know and I know that if a horse stands on your foot, he doesn't do that accidentally. He does that because you've annoyed him, and he's showing you what he can do.
That's
And
the
then there's
thesis.
horses
That's
which
the
are
thesis.
just bad, and they do it anyway. They'll bite you and stand on your foot. Now, there's a lot of other examples, but I don't need to go into that. So by the time we get to human, we are deeply into karma. Karma is very real. Now,
But
when we reach-
just plants don't like each other. Some plants don't like each other.
okay, so maybe there's a possibility. Ivy strangles trees. So, do you think there's karma in it for the ivy? I think that's pushing it. But what I wanted to say was, towards the end of the human, at the end of the human development, when we know that all is love and everything is love, then we grow beyond karma. And when we become superhuman, the next stage, no more karma. Now, there's a big question. What replaces it? And what are our possible motives when we are in the superhuman stage? Anyway, I won't even try and answer that. I just throw it out there.
Yeah, neither will I.
I don't worry about it, Charles. I worry about this life, and what happens next is another life that I have to experience and go through.
Yes, and luckily a memory wipe. Tom, you want to say?
That on that video I sent you with the about the Roswell one. I mean, it's a 4-hour video, but it's really interesting the way he's taught. But there's a PDF of the transcript, and it's 156 pages if you want to read it. But in that, chapter 10, they explain all about the flora and the fauna and the flora. They'll explain all about that, how all that was brought to Earth.
Everybody, ladies and gentlemen, instead go to the next question. It's 155. What do you guys think we do the vibration? Luis, see if what you think, everybody.
We
So
can
we
do the
have time
vibration
to
and talk
discuss
about
the
it.
vibration after. What do you guys think? Oh, let's go one more question. Oh, it's not going to be enough time. But
Yeah, there's not going to be enough time. I think you can do the vibrational thing.
everybody, guys, thumbs up or thumbs down? Everybody, good, good, good. Okay, so let's do that, and we're going to keep it going after we finish.
Yeah, it's a short one, and it's an obvious one too.
What's that? The next one?
Yeah, 718.
Do you guys want to do very fast? Let's do that. I see
Yeah,
Giles.
that's a small one, yeah.
Okay, so Giles, read for us once you were.
Does the law of self-preservation make it our duty to provide for our bodily wants? Well, that's a no-brainer to me. If I can answer that, the answer is, of course we must provide for our bodily wants. That's the whole point of taking an incarnation seriously. You must provide for your bodily wants, otherwise you just stand there and go to bed. I mean, stay in bed forever and die. Well, that doesn't help. You haven't learned much, have you? And you haven't helped anybody else either, except maybe the fungi that grow out of your body, which is, sorry, I get carried away sometimes.
I think it's about balance. Like, yes, we need to fight for ourselves, but do we need to destroy the other one? Do we need to make it bad for other people? Do we need to accumulate and see the other one not have nothing? So to me, it's everything about balance. And
it always all depends on the situation. Whatever the situation is, you can dream up another situation where what you thought was wrong in one situation is right in another situation. And the best example of that is Greek warriors on the battlefield. And one of them is his best friend is mortally wounded. And his friend comes by and says, "Oh, heavens to Betsy, there you are. Hercules, you're messed up, you're gonna die." And the friend says, "Kill me." And the friend kills him. Now, he kills him because he knows perfectly well that he would die in agony over 3 days if he didn't. And he cannot cure him. So whatever moral situation you pluck out of the air, you can always twist it around and find the good in it or the bad in it.
Yep. Agree. Okay, guys, let's go for the vibration. I think I'm going to stop recording. So we have more, we can bring the names and it's something more private. So let me just stop here. And I'm going to stop sharing as well. Thank you so much for the patience, everybody, patience.